let's go ahead and talk about multiplying rational expressions now. So notice that we have a rational expression here, and we are multiplying it by another rational expression. And it says to factor everything first. This particular example, we don't have to factor anything because these are all monomials, but when we get to example 2, you'll see what I mean about factoring everything. Okay, so in order to do this, what I want to do is just multiply across. So remember, when I multiply my coefficients and then I add exponents on each type of variable. So 8 times 7 is 56. I have an x to the third and an x to the fourth, so that's going to give me 3 plus 4 is an x to the seventh. I have a y to the first power and a y to the third power, y to the fourth. This is going to be divided by, let's do the same thing on the bottom. 2 times 4 is 8. I have an x to the first power and no x's here, so just the x to the first power. And then y squared and a y to the first power. So 2 plus 1 is 3, y to the third power. Now what we want to do is simplify this fraction. So remember that when we simplify fractions, we are dividing. So we are going to divide our coefficients. 56 divided by 8 will give me 7. And then I want to subtract exponents. So x to the 7th and x to the first, 7 minus 1 will give me an x to the 6th power. And then y to the 4th over y to the 3rd, 4 minus 3 will just simply be a y to the first power. We wouldn't usually write that y to the first power. Don't forget about our restrictions, our excluded values. In this case, we would want to talk about everything that we can no longer see in the denominator. And we don't actually have a denominator anymore. We have completely eliminated the denominator. So we need to go ahead and look at each variable and say that each variable cannot equal 0. So x cannot equal 0 because if x was 0, then 8 times 0 would be 0. This entire thing would be 0. Same thing with y. If we put in a 0 for y and then we raise 0 to the third power, well, that's still 0, overall making our denominator 0. So that means that our restrictions, our excluded values would be x cannot equal 0 and y cannot equal 0. This is a little different because we have x's and y's. We need to account for both.